All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said a few minutes ago, if you don't mind putting yourself on mute, that would be great, just so we don't disrupt our speaker. We would love to see your face if you would like to put your video on. We do know it's lunchtime and you might be eating lunch, but no worries. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Hope Kennedy, and I am the proud president CEO of your Chamber of Commerce. And we are delighted to bring back, albeit in a virtual format, our economic development briefing. Over the years, this briefing has been specifically for projects within our community that are happening that will have an impact on your business, your lifestyle, whatever the case may be. And so while COVID happened, we had a little bit of a lull in projects, but things are rearing and going, and we're very, very excited to bring to you today Dr. Kubal from Moffitt Cancer Center, and Javen Grant, our incoming board chair, will do the proper introduction. I just wanted to again say thank you all for joining us. And Javen, I am going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Hope. Like Hope said, my name is Javen Grant. I am the current chair of the Economic Development Community Engagement, and we are so thrilled today to have our first economic development briefing. It's been a long time coming. I don't believe we had any in 2020, and so now we have our first one for 2021. And I have the distinct honor and pleasure of introducing to you Dr. Timothy Kubal. It would take me literally half the program if I read all of his accolades and accomplishments. And so I'm going to try to summarize them the best I can. Dr. Kubal holds several positions at Moffit Cancer Center, including Senior Medical Director of Moffit at Advent Health Wesley Chapel, Director of Clinical Operations in the Department of Malignant Hematology, Medical Director of Infusion Services and Process Excellence, Physician Informaticist, and Associate Professor of Malignant Hematology. Dr. Kubal earned his medical degree from Florida State University College of Medicine. We won't hold that against you, Doctor. Go Gators. I'm just joking, just joking. And completed his residency in internal medicine at the University of North Carolina. He subsequently completed his hematology oncology fellowship at Moffit Cancer Center, while concurrently completing a Master of Business Administration at the University of South Florida. Dr. Kubal's experience is in myeloid malignancies with a particular focus in acute leukemias. In addition to his clinical practice, Dr. Kubal's roles and responsibilities include working to instill a patient-focused continuous improvement mindset across the entire organization. He has participated in and led multiple team projects and institutional committees to improve operations at Moffit, including, and get this, a quality improvement project that reduced patient wait times from 2 hours to 10 minutes. And we can all applaud that, Doctor. We can all applaud that. Additionally, he contributed to the optimization of the center's existing informatics infrastructure and led the conversion and validation of more than 700 chemotherapy order sets into an electronic format. Dr. Kubal currently serves on the board of directors for the Suncoast chapter of Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and holds memberships with the American Society of Hematology and the American Society of Clinical Oncology. He has authored numerous peer-reviewed articles that have been published in prominent scientific publications such as American Journal of Hematology, Journal of Oncology Practice, the American Journal of Medicine, and Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics. Dr. Kubal is a co-chair of the NCCN Best Practices Committee. He also serves as a member of the NCCN Best Practices Infusion Efficiency Workshop and the NCCN Committee Chair Advisory Group. And I could go on, but without further ado, Dr. Kubal.
Man, I feel like they should pay me more after that. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate that. A lot of that stuff, you guys know this, you change throughout your career what you're doing. And so the same thing is happening to me. You take care of this, you take care of that, you do this, you do that. And you know, you get rewarded with more responsibility. So that's always fun because you get to do something new. So this was something new for me to be able to do out here in Wesley Chapel. And so what I'm thinking is, I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit about sort of the why we came out here, what we're doing up here. Got some cool pictures. I'm going to save you one video, but I'll give you a video from over with our colleagues at Advent as well. And then I'm happy to engage on sort of anything around what our people are looking for, who our people are, and what we're looking at longer term. I think, again, as you said, this is really only a positive for the North Tampa Pasco area. So let me see if I can share a screen here with you guys.
You should be able to. We've got you all set. There we go.
And I promise to keep the speaking part relatively brief so that we can do questions and things. I find where that's some of the most important engagement happens. So what I'm going to talk to you today is our Wesley Chapel site. So you guys probably know Moffit. I show you this picture to give you some perspective on our history. When we started, we were actually just this building here, this little series of blocks. At the time, we had about, I think we started around 50 hospital beds. There really wasn't a big need for, hundreds and hundreds of beds. So we started out this little tiny piece. We've got our labs there. We've got our offices there. Everything is there. We go on to build later our clinic building when we grew, our research building, which is over here on the right. We have another research building that has this little walkway to it. And since this picture, which is one of my favorites, we built an additional FOB, so an office building in the back to allow us to grow our faculty. Right now, Moffit, whether you know it or not, we're one of the top cancer centers in the country. So we're typically ranked in the top 10 across the country. That NCCN group I'm on is basically the top 30 cancer centers in the country. And I chair with a colleague in Nebraska, their operational board. So Moffitt's got a lot of visibility. We're a young site, but we're growing very fast, which I think is important for you guys to know. So I was out here for 7 years and people asked me, they said, well, Tim, why on earth would you want to go to Wesley Chapel? So actually my boss, there was an assumption, right, that I would just live out my days in our, what's called our Magnolia site. This is what I would do, right? And so then one day they said, look, we're looking for somebody to come up and run this site in Wesley Chapel. Would you do that? And I was like, yeah, I would, right? And so they said, why would you do that? I said, actually, I said earlier on this happy wife, happy life. So this is where I live. So when I originally was here, my family's from the Carrollwood area. I went to Hillsborough High School. Then I left for undergraduate and all that stuff. And when I moved back here, I took care of my parents' house for a couple of years, lived in various areas. Once I got married, my wife picked where we were living, and this is where we were living. She's from West Tennessee. And so one of her 3 life dreams, I forget the other 2, was to have a pool. So you can do that anywhere, but this is where she wanted to do it. She loved this community. So when they asked me, I said, yeah, I would love to do that because I live in that community. That's my community. It's like, the drive, it's 16 minutes for me as opposed to 40 minutes. And a lot of my patients come for there as well. So, the why behind it was, for me coming up here was, this is my community. This is really where I'd rather be, frankly. So that's just to give you guys some perspective. I'll have to pull this map up again later just to tell you where some of these patients are coming from, but it's actually quite interesting. So this is our site. This is, one of the other reasons, I'll tell you this later. This Advent Hospital is actually great. So when I pitched some of my colleagues from our hematology department on coming out here and working at this Advent Hospital, and 2 of them stopped me, and I assume what they were going to say is, oh, this is a terrible backwater, never go there. And the first guy, he said, oh, that's a really good hospital. My son got taken care of there when he was sick. And the other guy said, oh yeah, when I was septic, when I had that infection, that's where I was. They said it was really good. I would love to come out there. It was very reassuring knowing we were going to have this partner in this hospital. And the truth is, this is the only hospital out here. So back when I was younger, you went to University Community, TGH, or St. Joseph. There weren't any other hospitals. And so for somebody like myself, this is your hospital. This is the hospital you go to. Moffitt's got about 200 beds. These guys are up in that same range, right? Great emergency department with good turnaround. So our patients are able to flow through there. And then critically, I think important for everybody on this call, and please push Advent on this if they're on here, They've got a great OB unit here. If they drop a NICU here, you'll have the deliveries from the surrounding area. So one thing I would tell you guys, individuals such as myself who don't need a NICU, your wife still wants a NICU. You don't need a NICU. I don't need a NICU. I get lots of care. But we end up down at St. Joseph's, for example, for deliveries. If we end up with that service up here, the massive amount of young professionals that live here, that everyone will deliver their kids here. So I'm actually having a daughter in June, and my daughter will be delivered here as opposed to driving to St. Joseph's, which is very, very far away from me, and I want to be up here in the community. So this is the full site, main hospital, what's called the Wellness Plaza. This includes gyms and primary care. And then over here on the right side is what's called the Healing Plaza. Critically, I know this is maybe a minor point, but at Moffitt, I've got a 7-deck parking garage. I've got 2 of them. Patients have to valet their cars. They can't self-park. A lot of people dislike that. And so some of the patients who've actually shifted their care out here have actually said, oh, I just like that I can park my car. I know that sounds crazy, but it's actually a critical piece, an offering for a lot of our patients, a lot of the customer approaches. So 2 things that we're doing out here. We've got an outpatient piece and an inpatient piece. The inpatient piece, I'm going to show you here. So this is an entirely new floor that was built by Advent Health. Each of these floors is going to have 24 beds. So the long-term trajectory is potentially to have 50 beds dedicated to oncology. Again, for perspective, Moffitt's got 217 beds, and we're at around 95, 97% capacity today. So since a lot of our patients come from here, and this is a good hospital, we have been blessed that they have built this new unit that's going to accommodate oncology-only patients, right? So right now we've got a dozen beds open. We're working the kinks out, but I'm the medical director for this unit, in addition to being the medical director for this site. So the idea is bringing the oncology care closer to the patient. These rooms are actually great. I don't know if you guys, the other thing is if you've ever been to, anybody's ever been to like the VA, for example. I came from an era where the VA actually had would have a room this size with 4 patients in it, and there would be curtains, and you would put four vets in there, and they would all talk to each other, and it was kind of funny. But these are really nice spaces for healing, all single rooms. I know that sounds crazy that you wouldn't have those, but it's not common. Really nice space, well managed. I've enjoyed working with them. I'm going to show you a quick video here, but I'm going to do the music for you here. Imagine the music the rest of the way. It is the music that you have for every single video that you've ever watched like this, right? Uplifting and fantastic, but new inpatient unit, a lot of natural light for the patients in all 24 of these rooms, which is critical. You guys have seen these centrally located nursing station with oncology certified nurses. Myself, we've got 3 sets of oncologists that come out to this area. But again, the unit's going to be about 14,000 square feet. It's going to be a different oncology approach than's been out here over time. And the idea, again, with Advent, and this is a critical piece, is to care for that whole person. So I've shown you, the Wellness Plaza, the Healing Plaza. People can really get sort of the vast majority of their care out here. These rooms are convertible to sort of PCU or even almost ICU level status. And so you can really do a lot of the patient's care if they get well or sicker in this same space. So it's built to flex. But there was a piece in there around getting the patient closer to home. And that's what we're trying to do. We're coming to you as opposed to you coming to us. So I'll zoom in now to show you a little bit of the Moffitt space. So that's our inpatient unit with Advent Health. This wellness space over here, this building on the right, really frankly great building. This is our entryway from a Moffitt standpoint. The method behind the madness here was quote unquote spa-like feel. I've been to a lot of spas. It doesn't disappoint. Very sort of nice color pattern, a lot of natural light for the patients. Very different than some of that older Moffitt building that I showed you. Couple of critical things from an offering standpoint. So what I'm showing you now is what's called a LINAC or linear accelerator. So this is top of the line, newest thing. I can treat probably 20 to 30 patients per day on this LINAC. It delivers radiation specified to a tumor site. I have 2 radiation oncologists, a physicist, a lot of dosimetrists out here. We can do any body part from brain to toe for radiation oncology out here. The nice thing for the community about radiation oncology is it is delivered every single day. So for example, you live in Wesley Chapel, you've got a breast cancer, you need 20 fractions, 20 treatments over 4 weeks. You can get it close to your house as opposed to driving into Moffitt, parking in your car, getting set up, getting 3 seconds of radiation to hit that tumor, and then doing the hour back. And so we've seen a lot of patients want to transfer their radiation oncology care to this site because they live out in this area. So this is a big draw, is the radiation oncology piece. Right now, I think they're 1,000% over projected volumes. So their growth is far exceeds what we initially thought. Another critical piece, you guys have seen the donut, the CT, so we've got this on site. This is also really important. So I can give you the radiation, but how do I plan it? What's cool about this CT sim and the way this works is Moffitt's only got a couple of CT sims at their main site. We've got 1 here for these patients. So if you get simulated at our Magnolia campus, we can treat you here on that LINAC I just showed you. If I simulate you here, I can treat you at the LINAC at Moffitt if you want to get cared for there. And so the addition of the simulator allows us to do virtually everything we're going to do in the community. It's kind of a whole, you can do the whole thing here. A lot of times patients don't ever need to go over to Magnolia. They may never go to Magnolia Moffitt, for example. This space I love. So I've been an infusion center director for, I don't know, 7 years, since the dawn of time. Our Magnolia Infusion Center's got about 50 bays. MIP, or International Plaza, is 22 to 26 bays, depending on the way you measure it. McKinley is up in that area as well. And then we've built 22 bays here with a different type of feel in our space. So we're able to care for up to, arguably, you could probably do 100 to 120 patients per day infusions here. Right now we're running 30 to 40 because we're working the kinks out and it's week 8. Right. But beautiful space, a lot of light. Anybody who's ever had a patient who's gotten an infusion, you could be there for 6 hours. Right. So the ability to have sort of this private space without being cooped up in a room, to be able to see outside, this is really nice for patients. They have really enjoyed this space. So 22 infusion bays. A lot of our patients will come out here for their infusions or will stay out here in the community for their infusions. So again, get the patient closer to where their home is, even if their doctor is over on USF campus. So overview of the site for you beyond the pictures. About 28,000 square feet on the site. We had 14,000 on the inpatient side, 28,000 here. We toyed with buying more space, I'll tell you, but we are looking to do a better job of utilizing existing space. So anybody who's got a business degree on this understands that, like, if you give them more space, they'll use more space, but they may or may not need the space. Sort of kind of a classic thing. So here we're trying to work to really utilize the space well. 20 exam rooms and 22 infusion chairs, like we talked about. This allows us to see up to probably, you could probably do 150 to 200 patients per day here. The CT sim in the up to 2 LINACs, I've got a vault that I've already built out to put a second LINAC in, so I can treat anywhere between 40 and 80 patients per day for radiation oncology. That's a lot of patients who potentially would stay in the physical area for their treatment, for example, or come down from the villages, Lakeland, those types of areas every day. Trinity, we see a draw. So RadOnc is a kind of a big draw for the community and the surrounding businesses in my mind. Net new FTEs sort of in the 60 to 80 range. A lot of these people are going to be nurses, nurse practitioners, docs, and then supporting teams, management and things like that. So as you guys know, a healthcare provider network is going to tend to skew towards a higher pay rate, for example, who are going to be out in these communities. A lot of the people that I've hired, by the way, they live out here, or they live near here and they're looking to establish permanent residence out in this area. And so imagine, and I live up in off Curly Road, which if anybody's on here, by the way, we need to expand that. I'm gonna need 2 Curly Road lanes as soon as you can. But with every doc or every nurse practitioner and every set of patients comes obviously the downstream revenue for the community, right? And so we're certainly seeing that with regard to what we're doing around here. So what we've got, the one cool thing I'll tell you, so in the cancer community, you either see everything or you see one thing. So this is the idea. So at Moffitt, you might just do, for example, right-sided liver lesions, right? You might just do surgery on the right side of the liver when there's tumors there. In the community, commonly you're going to do everything, but we found it's hard to do everything and people want to do more than one thing. So what we've done here is hired multiple oncologists to do what we call multi-specialist. We actually did what I'd call a body part draft, where we said, here's all the tumor types, pick what you want to do, what are you most passionate about? And our docs have divided up the body to just care for a couple of things. So for example, if you've got a breast lesion, I know who you're going to see. If you've got a blood clot, I know who you're going to see. If you've got a brain tumor, same on. So really important piece is we're going to build that multi-specialist backbone out here. But most of these people are here in the community. We all have moved here and live here. So why Advent? Why have a partnership like this? So I got to tell you, this is my parents' old Carrollwood house here. Funny thing about this picture is, so the middle, this is my nephew in the middle. He's 3 years old. We told him he needs to go for a walk with my son on the right, who's 2, and my other nephew who's 2. And we said, you have to hold their hands. You can't let them escape you. So you can imagine what this is like, right? How difficult it is for him to manage them. But our partnership with Advent has been a little easier to manage than my 2-year-old son here. So why pick Advent? Good question. So I don't know if anybody's ever been to Moffit. We do a couple things really well. We aren't as good at the other things. So, I mean, quite literally, if you said to me, I'm pregnant and I've got a cancer, I would tell you need to see one of my colleagues at Tampa General, for example, right? So, and if you said to me at Moffit, Tim, I need a primary care doctor, I would say, oh, can't help you. Don't know any of those people. I'm having a heart attack, need to transfer you to my university community. We actually don't do any of those things. Stroke, we send you to an outside emergency room. So Advent Health does things that we don't. So cardiology, including being able to cath somebody. Some of my patients have already had cardiac catheterizations here for chest pain that it would have been done in a disjointed way anywhere else. Primary care, Moffitt's got none of that. We have none of that. OB, the availability to care for a patient who's actively pregnant. We won't do that at all, right, as a general rule. And pediatrics, right? So we know that we can do these things, but the truth is we don't do them, right? We're a 203-bed cancer center. We don't do these other things that are close to what the patient needs. Other thing is, these people do really care about the whole person care. I mean, there's a gym over there, right, that they actually do care about, right? There is a focus on nutrition and wellness and faith. And I think it's just something that we think about, but we're so focused on cancer that maybe we don't have the opportunity to do everything every single day. So this is a great opportunity to partner with somebody who's in the community, who's known, who's doing a good job already. We can augment what they do and they can augment what we do. So then why Wesley Chapel, beyond the fact that I live in Wesley Chapel off of Curly Row, which I'm hoping you guys can expand to 2 lanes each way as soon as humanly possible. So I guess this is kind of this is an important point. So if I asked you guys, which cancer doctor do you want to see? You would say the one who is the absolute best at doing what I do, right? I've got this one type of tumor. I want to see somebody who just does that. Okay, no problem. Then I would tell you that person can't see you for a week or 2, and you're going to need to drive 2 hours to get to that person. Most of the time, you're going to say, maybe I don't need to see that person, right? This is just XYZ type of tumor. So actually, we've done surveys that actually show us what the patient cares about first is availability. Can you see me fast? Proximity. Can you see me near where I live? And so when we looked at where our patients were coming from, a lot of them were just coming from the Wesley Chapel area or Trinity or Dade City, right? Land O'Lakes, et cetera, et cetera. And they were going to other doctors that didn't come to us because they said, look, you're not in my community. I know even if you're the best, it doesn't matter to me. So we wanted to get closer to the patient, and Wesley Chapel is a great opportunity to do that with a partner. Cancer care closer to home, by the way, including clinical trials. We're on a trajectory to be able to offer those here at the site relatively soon. And our draw, this is super interesting. So I never saw these types of patients before I got here, but I've had a lot of people say, Tim, I can take the back roads from Lakeland. That's why I came to see you today. Or it's faster for me to get to you from the Trinity area because it's just east-west, and I'm not going to go park at Moffit. I mean, these people literally said that to me. I was looking to see you, but I didn't want to go to Moffit, right? And so I said, okay, no problem. I'll bring Moffit to you. And so that's what we've done. It's been frankly fantastic. We've also seen a lot of people from the villages. Those villages, people are willing to drive. They like to park their own car though, right? They like to park their own car. And then they always, these people that come, I'll tell you, they always have something in mind. So from a business standpoint, they see me, let's say they see me at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I say, well, what are you going to do with the rest of your day? They say, oh, we've looked at what we're going to do, and we want to go very specifically to this restaurant, and then we're going to shop at this store because we don't have one near us. Very, very specific interests in these patients and what they're going to do. Or if they've got wait time, they like to go to the mall, or they like to go, it's very specific. So I would tell you there's a lot of sort of outgrowth of people exploring the area around here. So other reasons, personal reasons as to why we're out here. There are some businesses that frankly I love out here. So I love to eat in this Mexican place. This isn't to say that the Mexican place that you own isn't the best place in the world, but I love Taco Sun. I was worried they were going to close during the pandemic. They did not. And they make wicked tamales. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff in the community that's fabulous. I'm having a meeting across the street today at Florida Avenue Brewing. Look, I mean, this is a really good place. You know, there's a lot of stuff up here in the community that I can go to that I don't want to go down to South Tampa. I don't want to go all the way out to Trinity. I like to be in the community here. You know, and this, you know, the money that I make, it goes back into the community. And I joke with people that reasons for me staying at Moffitt, the top one, it's actually this place, right? So you ask, Tim, what are you using in the community? My wife says that we can't move until our kids are out of Garden Montessori. My mom was a Montessori teacher. I'll tell you, we were lucky enough to sneak into Garden Montessori during the pandemic. Almost every doctor that I know in this area sends their kids here. So they live in Estancia and they drive up there, or they live where I live and they drive over here. But my wife has said we can't go anywhere until the kids are out of there. So, you know, there's a lot of spillover into these different critical services, right? I need to eat, right? I need to go to the gym. I need to be able to have a meeting and grab a beer at the end of the day. My kids need schooling, right? And this community is really building around this core of young professionals with these offerings. Every doc I hired actually has subsequently like moved out here. So anyway, there's a lot of offerings out here. I love this area. So 2 more slides and I promise I'm going to stop here, Hope. So what's kind of the long-term focus for this space? And then I'm going to just give you a brief overview of what we'll call Project Pasco. So we're going to grow this inpatient side and the outpatient side. We've already seen our volumes out here anywhere between 100% and 1,000% higher than we expected. We're in week 8 or 9, and we're seeing, you know, 10 times what we were expecting to see because the community was looking for this service out here. So grow both of these things. I expect we're going to probably cap out in the, you know, serving maybe 300 or 400 patients per day in the site. Maybe we're serving 100 or more now. But you can imagine that's a lot of people flowing in and out of this space on a regular basis. We're going to grow it until it's full. We want to put clinical trials and high quality care out here. This isn't to say the care out here wasn't high quality before, but we do bring something special as one of the biggest oncology centers in the country. And so we want to bring that out to the community. There are some diseases where there are 60 or 70 people in the state that have that disease, and maybe I care for a third of those people. So you can imagine the expertise around that kind of thing. If it comes out to Wesley Chapel, those people will drive as far as they need to. And then again, we're looking beyond, right, Wesley Chapel to other sites, this multi-specialist backbone where somebody sees they see maybe 2 or 3 cancer types, right? So maybe they see malignant hematology, leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, and breast cancer, right? Maybe they see genitourinary malignancies and GI malignancies, right? Maybe they see thoracic and brain. But we're going to have people dive down in just a couple things. So build that backbone for future expansions. And then last one, so Project Pasco. There have been a lot of conversations around what I'm going to call Project Pasco. It had different names. This arises out of a need for space, right? So we bought a massive amount of space. So 775 acres, Suncoast Parkway Ridge Road extension where it's supposed to be. Our current footprint on that building I showed you is 25 acres. So this is our entire Magnolia site. Our primary main site is 25 acres in size. So we've purchased 775 acres northwest of here, sort of a little bit north of Connerton area. The idea there, I'm going to tell you, is not 100% fleshed out yet because it's so early. And right now, I think actually today our CEO is visiting it. And I said, well, this will be a quick visit because we haven't built anything yet. You know what I mean? But long-term, here's where cancer care is going is this, immunotherapy, and then probably next generation radiation oncology. So let me tell you a little bit about immunotherapy really quick. I'm sure you guys have heard of CAR T. This is the most clear example of immunotherapy, which is you could get 7, 8 kinds of chemo. None of them would fix you and you're going to die, right? What we can do is I can take cells out of your body, what are called lymphocytes out of your body. I can reprogram them to attack your cancer. And so each of your cancer cells will have something unique on the outside of them. And so I take your cells out. I do what's called an apheresis procedure. If you've ever donated blood, it's an IV in one arm, an IV in the other arm. I pull out everything. I give you back everything I don't need. I then incubate those cells in a lab to make them attack your tumor. Then I give them back to you, right? In this space for acute leukemia, acute lymphoblastic leukemia in children and adults, and refractory diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, this has a 50% cure rate. 100% of these people would have died before. So immunotherapy for CAR T, this is the future. But imagine this. What if you got 8 lines of therapy for breast cancer and your breast cancer has a unique signature on the outside of it, right? Your breast cancer looks like this, but it's got this little thing on it. It looks like a pen. I can make a receptor that looks like a pen, hot dog and a hot dog bun type thing, okay? If you got something on the outside that looks like a hot dog, I can make a hot dog bun. Then I can have the hot dog bun attack your breast cancer cells. So what we're going to be probably building out in Pasco is the ability to make those cells, both in our area and across the country. So a cell manufacturing facility, immunotherapy, so a research hub, and then a broader understanding of that. And we've also talked about either proton or what's called carbon ion therapy, which is basically, I give you, I showed you that LINAC, regular radiation, right? I shoot electrons in you. It's kind of vaguely toxic, right? It creates some sort of burns and things like that. I could give you protons. It works a little better. I can accelerate any ion as fast as I want. So I can actually take a carbon ion and I can throw that through your tumor as opposed to an electron or a proton, right? This is actually done in Japan. It was developed in the United States in the 70s. There are none of these in the United States. They cost about $400 million. So if anybody wants to pony up, at this point to help us build that would be great. But I think our intent is also to work towards being able to offer that's not anywhere else in Pasco. So right now it's listed as 14,000 jobs, about 8,000 direct, and I think then 6,000 indirect. I'm going to say millions of square feet. So there has been ballyhooed as many as 14 million square feet potentially built out around this. That is a huge number sitting here in, a little under 30,000. But the truth is we've built this space to grow out into this North Tampa community. We recognize Wesley Chapel is a great opportunity. We're going to keep growing because we've got a 25-acre footprint that is old. And we need to be able to offer all these services in different places. So we're growing. We're going to go north, south, east, west, and we're looking to grow with the community. So anyway, that was a brief overview. I'm more than happy to dive into any of these. I apologize for talking longer than I expected, Hope, but I was maybe just a little excited about some of the offerings, but and the fact that frankly, I live here. So the ability to talk about growing the community I live in is kind of a powerful thing for me. So and as long as we've got 2 lanes in Curly Road both ways, I'm good.
I've been sending text messages while you've been presenting. If you'll throw me back the host, we will entertain some questions. We appreciate that. Yes, thank you. We appreciate
how do I throw you the host?
Click on me up in the little corner with the 3 little blue lines and say, make me the host.
Okay. Make host. There you go.
Fantastic. All right, we are back. Well, thank you so much. That was so insightful. I know that we are going to have questions. I was remiss in the beginning for everyone to put your contact information in the chat. That way you can save the chat and know who is here. If you are interested in doing that, I'm going to take you off of Spotlight and make it a full gallery view so that I can see hands of those that have questions. Those that just jumped in, we apologize. Dr. Kubal was in the host mode, and we did record this, so you'll be able to watch it later. So if you have a question, you can physically raise your hand, or you can use your little emoji hand within your box. No questions. Dr. Paula O'Neill, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
I don't really have a question. I'm a Moffitt patient. I just want to say I'm very grateful that you're here in Wesley Chapel and grateful to be alive. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're glad to be here. I think I'm sad we weren't here first, or here earlier, but I appreciate that. And there's a couple of questions. There are some, so this is a good question, sort of stated generally. It was just sent over to me, Hope. One of the things we get a frequent ask on is, do we just do treatment for cancer patients? Yes and no is the answer to that. So there's 2 things to think about. So let's say you've got a blood problem that you don't know if it's cancer or not. You can totally see me, right? Let's say you've got a sort of a spot that needs a biopsy, you can see us, right? And I can absolutely treat people, for example, for iron deficiency, anemia, things to keep you out of the hospital. What we're not quite doing yet we don't have all the rheumatologic drugs on formulary. And so, for example, for a rheumatologic problem, disease-modifying anti-rheumatologics, Humira, things like that, we don't have the ability to do all of those, but we do have some flexibility around patient type. And so I always say, more than happy to try to get you into the system to take care of you, as best I can. But for the most part, it's cancer patients, but we're a lot more flexible about getting sort of non-cancer patients in if we have the ability for that.
I have 3 questions. Dr. O'Farrell, you'll go first.
Absolutely. Dr. Kubal, thank you so much. I enjoyed listening to your presentation. I'm curious to know if you can provide some reflections. Obviously with the global pandemic really changed the way that people sought medical treatment, everything from cancer to cardiology, to some of these chronic diseases. And unfortunately, there became a mindset in the mind of the patient to kind of ignore what would be telltale symptoms of some of these chronic diseases. So I'm wondering from your standpoint, how you all have addressed that. I don't want to say see a backlog in the system, but now as we begin to, re-engage as an open society, how are we kind of dealing with this that's kind of been, I don't want to say pent up, but that's, for lack of a better word, pent up, and the treatment that we're now being able to provide those patients?
Yeah, good. Excellent question. It's as if you watched the last 14 national talks I had to give on that topic. It's so my entire career was focused on, it's things like efficiency and leukemia care and things like that. Pandemic hits, and then my entire, my last 18 months of my life is about talking about changes in cancer care related to the pandemic. And so what we've seen, to give you some specificity around this, I just gave a talk last week on this. So during the pandemic, screening volumes, breast, colon, lung, anything like that, GYN, were down 60 to 80%. So we're actually anticipating 10,000 excess deaths related to cancer, a lack of cancer screening during the pandemic. The problem is, imagine you guys run businesses, right? So let's say you shut your business down for 3 months. And what we basically saw was screening shut down for 3 months. And when you open back up, they said, hey, this is great. You just need to see 2 or 3 times the number of patients for the next 3 months and you'll be caught up. But we had set the system to see 40,000, mammograms a month in the United States. So we open it back up and they say, oh, you need to do 60 to catch up. We can't do 60. And so across the country, what we've seen is a multi-month backlog for screenings. So right now at Moffitt, for example, it can potentially take a month, right? It could take 3 to 4 weeks to get you in for a colonoscopy. So same thing can take weeks for a mammogram. So what we're doing around there, I know that everybody who runs a business will done this. How do we work nights and weekends to be able to squeeze these people in, run a more efficient system? And then we're also seeing a lot of, for example, mammogram machines going out to the community, leveraging community sites to catch up. So a lot of our patients who were getting chemo or had cancer didn't stop coming, but we saw a huge spike in telemedicine. So the 2 months before, Kevin, we were doing 7 telemedicine visits a week. In April last year, we were doing 1,600 a week. So we went from 7 visits to 1,600 telemedicine visits. Now we've come down to 800 per week, and that's pretty steady. So we've got a capacity issue for screening we've got to address that we are addressing. It's across the country. And then telemedicine is continuing to be a thing. This is going to be a thing permanently. Most of the sites are looking at 20% telemedicine targets over time.
Let me ask just a quick follow-up question to that, because I appreciate that. That's an area of interest for me. What do the conversations that you all have had? I'm in higher education, so we've had these conversations about, thinking about what the next pandemic's going to be, what the next scenario would be, and the preparation for that we learn and glean as much from this as possible, so we don't find ourselves like we found ourselves in March of 2020. With everyone saying, we just got to close down and shut down, and we've got to learn to live with this in a safe and responsible way. And I'm sure you all, as we have had those kind of conversations, what are some of the things that you're gleaning in the medical community of saying, if we have a new virus X that comes out that is highly, contagious and mirrors what we've seen with the coronavirus, but how are we going to continue service and continuity of care without going into this lockdown mode? What are some of those things that you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, this is another, I would say the first thing I would share with you is I think we all got really afraid. So the big thing, Kevin, right off the bat was fear. So actually, I used to go into clinic on Mondays at Magnolia, and then I would stay at my mother-in-law's tiny house for 2 days to make sure I didn't get a fever. That's insane. In retrospect, that didn't make a ton of sense, right? We didn't know enough about the virus at that point, so we didn't really know. But masks work and wash your hands, right? So in the future, I think what we know is there's 2 things I would say. The first is people sort of now understand they can live with a virus like this. And if they do things in a certain way, they can go about their lives. So I think the next one of these that happen, I hope all the masks and everything goes away, all that, we just go back to our lives. This happens again. People can put masks on and come to my center. It's pretty easy to do. So we think we can just flex these same muscles that we've already flexed, right? With screening patients, with ramping up. We ramped up both vaccines. We vaccinated, 70,000 people at Moffitt. And then also the testing, we had it all ramped up at Moffit. So we'd never done this in our history. So we've done it all now. We would flex all these same muscles and our people would be less afraid. So I think those are the 2 big lessons that we're taking away from this pandemic. But the truth is, Kevin, you guys, maybe you've got a little better perspective than we do, but we're still in it. So, I think anybody who's on from Avalon would say we're still in it, right? The beds are packed. There's still COVID patients. But as soon as we get out of it, I think we're going to have those, those takeaways. What we're seeing in the medical community is that we're just starting to coalesce around the lessons we learned. So I'm just now starting to give those talks. And I think it's less fear from the patient, and we know what to do next time.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Javen, you had a question, and then we'll go to Kathy. You're good? Okay, Kathy, you can ask your question.
I did put it in directly to Dr. Kubal.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to say, I know you said something about not necessarily rheumatology. We have a genetic disease in our family, and my sister started her infusions yesterday, which means I will start mine soon. And I just wondered, will you be doing things outside of the cancer and rheumatology? Because I've been to Advent, and they're wonderful. I had a stroke last year and they were just amazing. I have friends who work at Moffit, and you're amazing. What a miracle to have the two of us together in this community. So I was hoping I could come there.
I'm going to check into this for you specifically. So sometimes the issue, and actually some of those, a lot of actually, it's interesting, genetic disorders come through HEMONC. So a lot of these sort of enzyme deficiencies and things like that. Mm-hmm. The question for these medicines really is, do we have it on formulary? Right. So for example, sickle cell disease, it's a genetic disease. There's 3 medicines that are out there now. We don't have them on formulary, right? Because it's about critical mass. However, I think we're open to these conversations around these things. So I'm happy to dig into that and get you an answer specifically on that process.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Are there any other questions that we have for you? We have a few more minutes before our scheduled time together.
Well, Dr. Kubal, I'll say this. I hope you try Capital Tacos as well. You're a taco son, but Capital Tacos are pretty good, my friend.
I know this. My wife goes to Capital Tacos, but she's pregnant right now. So her complaint was they were too spicy, but everything is too spicy when you're pregnant, as far as I can tell. So yes, I may end up over there for lunch if I don't end up somewhere else. But there's a lot of great stuff in this community, Kevin. This is the thing. And people like myself, what I would tell you guys as business owners out here, I have no interest in driving to South Tampa. I can buy a house in South Tampa. I can live down there. I've got, I make good money, blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to move there. I live here. And so I want this area to build so that I, continue to have these cool experiences here. My kid and then my future daughter will go to GMS, and we can keep eating all the good tacos that we want. So
we want to keep you here. We're going to work on that traffic, my friend, but we'll keep you in this area.
Who is getting me these 2 lanes? Kevin, are you getting me the 2 lanes on Curly? Who's getting me these 2 lanes?
Me and Hope Allen have a hard hat, or Hope Kennedy. We're going to get out there and we're going to lay that asphalt. Let me tell you.
I have been known to take a shovel out and start. Just don't tempt me with a good time. We have Raquel has a question.
Yeah.
Hey, actually not a question. I'll join you guys on the road. I'll help you build the roads as well. I'm in with on that one. Just not a question, but a comment for Dr. Kubal and the rest of the team out there, just to thank you. Bringing this center to the Wesley Chapel area, and sorry, it's hitting home for me. Thank you from the caregivers, those who have to take care of cancer patients at home. Bringing your center to Wesley Chapel is instrumental for my family. Just moved my mother-in-law down from New Jersey because of your center. And she was getting care there, but because you built your center here, it was instrumental that she lives with us. And she was getting her care locally in Wesley Chapel. So she's getting great care. It is a terminal disease for her, but being at home is what's critical for the community. So thank you.
You're welcome. I really appreciate that. We've heard that from more than one person who they said, I live in Wesley Chapel. I moved somebody down here because you're here. I know they're going to get great care. And I'll tell you, what's important to me, when I first started this job, I gave a presentation around, minutes matter for a cancer patient. Because if you might live 6 months, your life is counted in weeks, days, and hours. And so for me to be able to save you that hour drive and to get you in your home, or if you feel sick, for you to come across the street. One of my patients called us this morning and said, look, I'm throwing up. I don't know what's wrong with me. They're already upstairs getting treated. I'm going to keep them out of the hospital, keep them out of the ER, hopefully, and they're going to go home and be with their family. And you cannot underestimate the value of being in the community to care for the community. So I appreciate that feedback. I'm really happy about that.
Dr. Kubal, if I can, Hope, I'd like to ask another question here.
Sure.
All right, absolutely. Dr. Kubal, you mentioned this a couple times in your presentation. I think it's absolutely fascinating what you were able to identify in terms of service and care delivery between our location here in Wesley Chapel and the main campus there, about the parking of the cars. And I think it goes to the psychology of the patient that you have an individual who likes that sense of independence and control, really, with being able to park their vehicle. Is there any other kinds of nuanced differences that you've been able to identify that actually helps improve the level of service or the opportunity that you give to the patient that you serve here in Wesley Chapel as opposed to the main campus there in Tampa?
Yeah, I can. This is another great question. So Moffitt is one of the best organizations in the country, and going to the Magnolia site is very rewarding for any patient. But if you come to a site where there's fewer total people there, and you come to this hospital, right, where there's fewer total patients, people are going to know you as a human being. And so all of my staff at the front desk here know basically all the patients. So they're able to talk to them about their lives, their families, these things. They're able to share in the successes and also the sadness. And it's the same thing for Advent, right? So for example, Kevin, I've got patients who are getting regular blood transfusions, for example, and they can go over to Advent and they'll say, oh yes, John, you're back, right? So how are things going? So there is that community feel to this, but I've got some of the best people in the country working here in the community. And so literally I'm going to know, everything about you. You're going to need to park your car. I'm going to know everything about you. I'm going to shoot the breeze about how the crab cakes were that you sent me to my house. This is an actual thing that happened. Kevin, if somebody asked me for my address, I didn't know why. I figured they're probably not going to kill me, so I should give it to them. And so I get these crab cakes in the mail and I'm like, crab cakes? Who's sending me crab cakes? And it turns out it's a patient of mine. So I got to talk to them yesterday and I said, I really appreciate that, right? Like, I remember that, I appreciate that. It's really a family. So you can park your car and it feels like a family with these two organizations, Kevin. To the point that I tell, Rick Bruno's on here from Advent, my PCP's over here. I turned 40. My wife said I had to get my own doctor. Thank God I came up here so I could get a primary care doctor. And then when we have our second child, we're going to have it here. So our OB care is here as opposed to being distant. Our delivery will be here. It's just a community-based feel. We're offering something that we may not be able to do every day in every way at the Magnolia campus, Kevin.
Well, I will just wrap us up here and thank all of you all for listening in. And it just reiterates the fact that economic development just isn't about jobs per se or the buildings that go up, but it's the lives that it changes and within our community. And we're so very, very fortunate to have this wonderful asset here. And it's just a warming feeling about our community as a whole. And we are delighted to have you and your wife here. As always, we are here to serve our business community. If there's anything we at the Chamber can do to help you as you grow your business, our final Friday is at Florida Avenue Brewing. So maybe you will join us. It's the last Friday of the month at 4 o'clock. And I think that might be the last before we see you guys again. But if you want to put your information in the chat, you can save the chat. I did record this, so we will have it on our YouTube channel and on our website probably this afternoon. In the meantime, you guys all go forth and prosper and let us know how we can help you do so. Have a great week. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Kubal.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Kubal.
Thank you.